Hey there, everyone. It's Laura Williamson from Bear Fitness again. It's good to see you. And we have a fun and exciting show today. Trying to bring all the topics to you about all the things all the time. Today we have Lisa Gurgone from Mystic Valley Elder Services. I can't even begin to tell you all that we're going to talk about today. We don't have a lot of time, but we're going to try to get in as much information as possible, and all so that we can help you out and make things a lot easier and hopefully less stressful for you. But Lisa is from Mystic Valley, again, Elder Services. All right. And Lisa, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. It's
Yeah.
really an honor.
And it's awesome to have you. And you guys know how we do this here. I'm a private trainer, Pilates instructor, health coach, extraordinaire, I call myself. But, I like to bring information to you so that I can kind of help you guys out and make your world a little bit better if that's in fact possible. But also keep in mind that, there's always a workout attached to these interviews. That's going to happen a little bit later. So before you work out with me, just a gentle reminder, check in with your doctor, make sure that's okay to be here with me today. I'm happy to have you. I'm happy for you to do the workout with me, but take care of yourself first and foremost. Make sure it's good to go. All right, so now back to the matter at hand. Lisa.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, so now we want it all.
Yep.
But before we go there, can you please tell us about yourself?
Sure.
And what you do there?
Sure. I am the Chief Executive Officer for Mystic Valley Elder Services. I've been there about 2.5 years. And basically I run, program development in the organization to make sure that we provide services and supports to older adults, people with disability, and their caregivers. Really help people navigate aging services in Massachusetts. I think it's just really important for people to understand what's available to help their loved ones as they age and want to remain in their home. So our primary goal is to help put in services, supports, information to let someone live at home as long as possible as they age.
Okay. Does every town have one of you?
Yes. So Mystic Valley represents 11 cities and towns in the Mystic Valley area, including Wakefield.
Okay.
But there is an aging service access point, which is what Mystic Valley is, in every city and town in the Commonwealth. There are 24 of us.
Wow.
And we work in close collaboration with the Executive Office of Elder Affairs, which is a state government agency in Massachusetts, to offer programs, information, services, supports. We use state money, federal money, and also private money. We have a lot of grants that we get to support the individuals we serve.
Okay. I have to ask the question, how is it that I haven't heard of you? How is that? I've heard of you, but I found you a little bit later in my search than is ideal.
Right.
So how do people find out about you? How does that normally happen?
So a lot of it is through word of mouth, the councils on aging. The Commonwealth does have a website called massoptions.org that does link older adults and their caregivers to services, both for people who are over 65, but also younger individuals as well. But I think we need to do more as a society to share information on services. I do think that a lot of people, as they age, are kind of in denial. So people don't really look for the services. So I know we've asked the government to put more money into marketing all of the aging service access points, all of us, because that's really important. And the Secretary of Elder Affairs in Massachusetts is doing some work to try to do a marketing campaign. Because I think what happens a lot of times for families is that a crisis hits and they will Google something at night, home care. And there are a lot of private pay companies out there that advertise. And they have big advertising dollars. We're nonprofits, so we don't have that kind of money. So what we try to do is partner with the councils on aging, the cities and towns, the legislatures, to really get the word out about our services, which are government funded, free of charge, and really try to help support people navigate the services available.
Government funded, free of charge. But there are a lot of people out there who assume, and even me to some extent, and I apologize for this, but the reality is, you think you hear that government funded or whatever have you, and you assume that it doesn't apply to you. it's for a certain subset or a certain group of people,
Yep.
and that you're not allowed, or
Yep.
you shouldn't do it, or
Yep.
there's something wrong if you go and inquire and ask the question.
Yeah. That's a good point. And that's not the case. I mean, we are supposed to provide information to anyone. That's our mandate. And I think that you're right. It's a misperception that you have to be lower income to get services from us. Now, we do offer home care, meal prep, things like that based on someone's income. So you may not qualify for that, but we'll definitely talk today about some of the services that anyone could provide. Again, our information, our caregiver support program, open to anyone, regardless of their income. We have healthy aging classes. Similar to what you're doing, we're trying to teach people how to eat better. That's, free of charge to anyone. We have a counseling service for when you turn 65 called Shine. So that's to help counsel you on your Medicare options, open to anyone. Doesn't matter what your income is. So we have a lot of programs that help people that aren't, lower income. We have some for lower income people, but we definitely have a variety of things. And I think our best service is just that information referral number we'll talk about. Call us if you are trying to navigate options for your loved one. We can try to help you out, give you some ideas, some advice, some referrals to other services. It's just really good as a touch point for what's available in your community.
So to back up just a tiny bit, I have to admit that for me personally, I found that it was never my mother who was calling, looking for services, right? Because you said a lot of people are in denial. They want to stay independent. They're trying to do things on their own until a family member, loved one, or whomever steps in and has to step in because you recognize, oh, they need a little bit of help. They can't do these things for themselves. But what I found for myself was trying to juggle that and figure things out caused me to make a lot of expensive mistakes.
Right. And that's where I think our team can help you, because if you call our office, we have these specialists that answer the phone. And like I said, they will navigate. They'll talk to you about what they know of in the community, what's local, what are companies that have been vetted. We do audit organizations, especially home care companies. So we work closely with them and we have to audit them as part of our mandate from the government. So we check to make sure that they're hiring people appropriately, checking their backgrounds, paying them appropriately. I do think there's some companies out there that are, might have a good web presence, but they might not be paying the worker appropriately. You want to make sure that if you're buying a service, it's helping those direct care workers. So we're doing that. We can explain, again, some of the caregiver supports. We have caregiver support programs for the daughters, that may be stressed out, and especially caring with someone with dementia. If you have a loved one with dementia, we have a lot of programs for that, both in-person programs, but also online programs. We have some consultants we can refer you to help you navigate some of the stress of that. So it's just a lot out there. I think we're lucky in Massachusetts. There is so much, but that also makes it confusing for the caregiver.
Makes it overwhelming.
Yes, exactly.
Honestly.
And most people do not think about aging. Like I said, it all kind of comes back to that we never think about it till it's a crisis. So part of why I'm excited to be here is to kind of encourage people to really call us, even when it's not a crisis. You go to mom's house, you realize she doesn't have a lot of food. Give us a call. Maybe there's, we work with Bread of Life in Malden to do drop grocery bags to people. We have Meals on Wheels. There may be another thing we can do to kind of start building a relationship with mom so that as things get worse, she knows us and trusts us. It's all about building trust, as you can imagine, too. And we try to do that like one step at a time because a lot of people are anxious about having services, letting someone in their home. So if we can start small, I think it helps build rapport for the future.
Yeah, it's such an interesting dynamic because you grow up with your parents and they're always the strong one. They're the ones supporting you and they're taking care of you. And then the roles reverse. And then if in my case, I wasn't married yet, but then if you have a family of your own, you have children, you have this whole other group of people that you also need to take care of. And, you always assume, well, I have brothers and sisters and they'll all help out. But historically, I haven't always seen it work that way. Sometimes there's a little chaos, there's a little, people don't agree. And So it gets a little challenging. Like I said, when you get busy, it's hard to focus on exactly what direction you should go in. It's just, you just want it to be done and over with and just move on. But like I said, me personally, I wish, as someone who has a mother, I actually did come across you a little bit later in life and did have some assistance with some things. And I have to admit that it helped because the people that I did get on the phone were very kind, caring, and it didn't feel like I was being judged, like, oh, you're bad, you should have done this, you should have done that, you should have done that, and I didn't even go anywhere near the legal issues. There are also legal ramifications. If you make a wrong legal move, not intentionally, then it could jeopardize your situation later on, and it snowballs into this monster. Right. And you love the person, but then everything that ensues, everything that comes along with it, it just it's crazy. So what I will say is that aspect, the human aspect, the interactions I had with people, it actually helped. When you're already in a stressful situation. I mean, what you offer is wonderful. But if I had to call and say, how can you help me? And then if I get someone on the phone who's having a bad day or whatever the case may be, I don't know that I'm calling back.
That is a good point. And we want to, look at each situation as unique to that family, right? As you're raising. There's so many family dynamics. And so we really do train our staff to listen to what the person on the other end of the phone really needs and try to help them kind of provide options. We're not going to tell you what the right thing to do is, but we're definitely going to give you options. And then, you can call back. We also offer care management, so we can work closely with the family to kind of navigate some of the options if they would like that. So that's what I mean. It's really kind of whatever the person needs, we try to meet them that level. Some people want a lot of services. Some people just want advice. We do also refer to different attorneys. If someone has some legal issues, they have questions. So kind of to meet the person wherever is right for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome. So I had a great experience. And actually, I think we have a video of one of your clients who talks about, her experience there in using some of the services that you offer. Take a look. Check this out.
I'm receiving 2 specific services right now. One is a support group, which is designed for spouses of Alzheimer's patients and dementia patients. And I also receive services by having a companion come in to my husband twice a week. So it gives me a little bit of time to get out and, do things that I need to do. The services from Mystic Valley have changed my life completely, really. Prior to knowing about Mystic Valley services, I really felt alone. One of the great things about Mystic Valley services is that in addition to my needs that I've been receiving, the services are wide and broad. I mean, you get kind of caught up in your own little tunnel, but you realize that it's a huge, big umbrella, that they have services and that they will provide them for you. They offer them, and if they don't, they find them for you. They're so professional, and they have a fit for everything. Because I've learned through my group and through the services that I've developed more patience and to maintain my husband Jimmy's dignity, which is so important. I feel so blessed to be part of Mystic Valley Elder Services. I mean, it's just really been a gift. I would recommend Mystic Valley Elder Services to persons that are in need of services, because in my case, it's really been a lifesaver. It's been a game changer, and I wouldn't, be so settled in where I am if it weren't for them.
Right. Now, you already mentioned some of the services that you offer. Yep. I noticed that you have a memory, is it a memory cafe? Am I remembering that the right way?
We have Memory Cafe. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So that's actually working in partnership with the Councils on Aging.
Okay.
We actually have one right in Stoneham. which isn't too far from here.
Okay.
And we have a staff person that comes in, and caregivers and their loved ones with dementia come to the Memory Cafe.
Okay.
And they do activities. So it's a really great opportunity to kind of provide respite to the caregiver, and then to provide some sort of activity that engages the consumer, the elder, bring them together. They also, it's like a support group, so all the caregivers kind of talk together.
Okay.
Our specialist, Kathy Leonard, gives advice on how to work with your loved one as they're facing dementia. It's just really a wonderful program. They're now doing some special programs. We went to an equine farm.
Okay, and I saw that.
Yes.
Those were awesome pictures with horses.
And people really loved it. There was actually a wonderful story. One of the individuals with dementia, he had never really even liked animals, and his wife took him to that farm, and then he really engaged with the animals and the staff there, and now he's volunteering. So they go once a week to the farm, and he helps out. He likes brushing the horse, and it's just been really engaging for him. And so again, this gentleman has dementia. The wife said it's been a huge changer for her. He looks forward to these outings. So again, something that they wouldn't have even thought of. He wasn't really an animal person, but for him, this really resonated. So that's been a great project. We also have done some cooking classes.
Okay.
And so we bring, the caregiver and the elder to a cooking class, and they, have designed it to be appropriate for people with dementia, and they learn how to cook. And again, very engaging for the caregiver and the loved one. It's a wonderful, positive experience. I know if someone's caring for someone with dementia, a lot of the experiences aren't super positive.
Yes, and I was going to mention that. It's like for someone at home, they're like, yeah, I couldn't do that with my parent. But, by the same token.
Right. But, we have staff there that are trained that try to help, facilitate the activity. And it really is, a very positive experience. We try to, teach the caregivers some techniques on how to better engage with their loved one. A lot of times they learn from each other. The caregivers come together, they learn from each other. They're there for each other during the caregiver journey. But then, if the loved one passes away, they're also very much there for each other after that experience. And that's really critical, as you can imagine, right? You've given your life to caring for this person, and then they die.
Right.
So then you have a really great support system built in to help each other, through the next chapter as well.
Right. Oh, that, I hadn't even considered that. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, it's really been great. That's the stories we hear, that people, they stay together, they're friends for a long time, they're supporting each other really through the whole lifespan. It's lovely.
Oh, see, I think that's amazing. Again, it's difficult, as someone who has a loved one who also is suffering through dementia herself. It's hard to have that person physically still with you, but they're not with you.
Right. Right.
And someone told me once, like, even though they may not always recognize you or who you are, just keep in mind they do remember the feeling that you leave with them. So for me, I always keep that in mind, like that they remember the feeling, what you give to them emotionally. So for me, that's always my saving grace. Like, okay, did I do something today that might have made, that she felt good, or did I upset? Now, if the person gets upset when you're with them, and it's not your cause, that's something else, right? Because that happens too. Yep. But the reality is, if you take them, and I can think of moments where we did things together, and it seemed like such a simple thing, but it was just like, you knew, like you could feel it, like you could feel the happiness. So it really is about the little things. So, and that's why, again, I wanted to invite you here today, because I think what you're doing is valuable. Right. And so many people need you.
Yeah.
But all that being said, tell me, what's a normal day? What does a typical day look like for you there? Like, what's going on? Like, how are things happening?
So we have a lot of events. Like I said, we have a lot of these caregiver events, but other events. So, next week we're actually having a tasting that's open to the public. We're our meals vendors, so we do Meals on Wheels, and they're going to come in and sample the food that they offer. If you did Meals on Wheels, that's next Tuesday, so we do that. We have a number of trainings for our staff on, again, because obviously they're working with different populations, different needs. Right now we're working on a training on how to work with people who are younger and disabled.
Oh, okay.
So they have their own,
own
needs. They're very different than older adults.
Right.
So how do we equipped our staff to make sure we're helping families that may have younger people who are disabled. So there's that. We are definitely, it's a very bustling office where there's a lot of calls coming in. We do have walk-ins, so people come in and they ask to speak to someone, so we can do that and give a little bit of advice that way.
Okay.
That SHINE program I talked about, the Medicare counseling, we have a lot of people who make appointments to come in and meet with one of our counselors. They bring their health insurance, like their drugs and what they take.
Okay.
And then that person goes and gives them options on Medicare, what's the best options for your needs.
Okay.
So we do that. So people are coming in. We also work in housing sites where we do both programming. We're now doing a new initiative where we have a nurse come in once a week. She holds office hours and can ask questions if people have questions about their health issues. She'll talk to them. She also does educational programming.
Okay.
We should have you come in and do a class.
Oh, I would love to.
So trying to do healthy living
I'd love
stuff.
to.
Really
I do a mean chair workout,
Yeah, that's exactly a chair workout. Some of them are, but it's great. I'm a big proponent, which is why I was excited to be on your show, of healthy aging. So that's, we're trying to bring more healthy aging things to some of the sites where people are. The COAs or a housing site. Local community groups. We're trying to do more with the local groups as well. For me, it's meeting people where they are. Because like you said, people aren't really going to search it out usually.
Right.
You've got to meet them where they are. So how do we meet
Get to
people
those
there
people.
are? Being on shows like yours. We're trying to do more at the local town events. A lot of the cities and towns around have town day or, events where there's booths. So we're having booths there, trying to spread the word. So people call us before they need services.
Yeah. Again, if I knew about you before, but I mean, it's just, and again, I think sometimes you're just so overwhelmed, you're so stressed that you can't see. It's just difficult. You have tunnel vision. You're just like, let's just get to the end point. Let's just get through it, and let's do what you can. But sometimes you got to put in a little work so that you don't have as much work to do. Because it doesn't mean there isn't going to be any. There is going to be some.
Right.
But sometimes we got to dig out a little bit so we can make it a little bit easier for ourselves. What I will ask is this, because you did touch on this very lightly. I'm getting older. We all are getting older, and because of everything that I've been through with my mom, the loved one, I find that I think in terms of now, like, okay, so what's the plan for me as I'm getting older? Like, what do I need to do? And I'm not just talking about IRAs, 401k. That's really not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is there anything you would recommend? Like, how can a person put themselves in a position where things aren't so hard?
Yeah.
Things are going to be challenging, but you know what I mean? Like, how can I plan or pre-plan, or how can I implement into what it is I'm already doing to maybe lighten my load a little bit when the time comes?
I do think you're obviously doing the right thing by trying to be healthy, eating healthy, exercising, trying to maintain your body. But, the other thing I think people don't always think about is where they live. So many people want to stay at home as they age.
Right.
And we do see a lot of older adults with homes, with stairs, multiple stairs in their home. Or, you can have your washer and dryer put on the same floor as your bedroom. Try to put that on the first floor. Thinking about those sort of things, I mean, we can certainly do adaptations to homes, but it's so much easier if you kind of prepare for that, especially, I'm almost 50, as I'm thinking about my next home, trying to think about, making it one level, not having to worry about a lot of stairs. I personally think that, it's good to live in Massachusetts where we are a more urban environment where services are close by.
Right.
We do see some challenges, especially, in Western Mass, especially getting services out there, because where people are spread apart, there's obviously wonderful value to living in more rural areas. But as you age, there are just less people, less opportunities. The bus can be a really great thing. So I think thinking about that, and of course, if you prefer to live in a rural area, what is your plan? To your point, you may probably need to save more money because services offered are only going to go so far.
Right.
That's really important. I also think starting your network again, as we are older,
What a
right?
great idea.
Because my children are in their teens. I have a lot of friends that are related to my, through my children.
Right.
So as my children go away, I need to make some new friends, that are in my neighborhood so that you can kind of rely on each other. Again, there are services out there, but it's good to have a network. So, if you have an injury or, you need someone to help shovel for you, you'll have an option. There's a lot of communities that are doing what they call neighbor to neighbor. And again, just kind of help each other out as they age. I think that's really important to kind of start building those communities so you're not just relying on paid services, because as we all know, there's just not a lot of people. There's a lot of jobs and not a lot of people, and I don't think we see that changing. So it's important to have a network. It takes a village, just like with children. They say it takes a village to age well.
It does.
Yeah.
I mean, not that it's a joke, but it's a real conversation that I actually have with my friends now. We talk about that, but the joke for us on that part, not because it's a joke, it's not a joke, but because we say, okay, well, where's our home? We're going to pick a home and we're going to stay in it together. Like it's already a real conversation that we're having amongst ourselves. Like, okay, like I saw this place over in Salem and I saw this place over here. It's pretty cute. It has a little tea garden. I was like, I wouldn't mind if I have to move out of my place, or there's a little facility over here. I mean, it's a real conversation that we are really starting to have. And you think there's a difference. Well, if you're single versus being married, there's two different conversations. Well, not necessarily. Not necessarily. And even though it seems like, we're joking about it, but really we're not joking about it. It's like we really need to think about it. Like, are we going to have enough money to do these things? And then if we don't, but I'm finding in talking to you today that if we don't, there's no conversation that's happened after that.
Right. I think people just assume they'll have what they need, but the other thing that's really popular now is like home sharing. You may have heard of that, where there's actually a Globe article just a couple of days ago where some older people are renting rooms in their homes to people, either exchanging for, maybe a younger student who will then do grocery shopping for you. Or honestly, kind of like the Golden Girls, to your point, a few women coming together, living together as they age. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I think is kind of innovative and exciting, because we do see also that social engagement is such a key component to healthy living and aging. So, I know, like, I think of my own grandmother, she lived by herself. And, she was in a big home by herself. And towards the end of her life, I remember her telling me, because we had talked, my family had talked to her about moving to an apartment, a few years before she got sick. And she said at the end of her life, I wish I had thought about moving, because now I'm, we were all working, I'm home alone all day watching TV. And that, that's hard. She couldn't drive. We were my mother was working. I was working. She's like, it's kind of nice to be with people. So I do think thinking about that, again, not when you're 80, but when you're 60 or 70, like what is the next place, and where do you want to be, and who do you want to be with? It's important.
People just know where they don't want to end up. But I remember my mother distinctly saying to me, you're not putting me in a home, or I'm not going to a home. But homes aren't what they used to be. First of all, they're not called homes anymore. And the second thing is they've come a long way. It's not, granted, there are a lot of places out there, they're not awesome. But by the same token, there's still a lot of options out there that are.
And we're not talking about traditional nursing homes,
assisted
living, so shared housing. There's so many opportunities now. I think you're right, especially around here. So yes.
So I think they're just more options than people want to recognize. And you know what? Who wants to get older? And no one wants to think. No one wants to think about all that comes with aging. But the reality is, every day it's a new day. Every day we're new cells. Every day. It's actually happening. You're not getting away from it. We're all getting older. We're all on that same ship together, by the way.
That's true.
So, and it doesn't have to be a bad thing, and it really is, it's about attitude. It's about lifestyle. It's mindset. It's so many things. So before we're almost going to wrap things up, because I think we touched on a lot today.
Excellent.
A lot of important points. What I will ask you is this: if you had advice, one piece of advice to give someone, what would that be?
I think it is reach out for help, like I started in the beginning. If you have any questions, you think you're wondering why, your mother maybe needs some help, you're not sure, just call us. We have an online referral form. Talk to one of our specialists, our information referral, because you might not need our services now, but it's just good to start that conversation as soon as possible, and then go back to your siblings if you have them. Just start talking about it, because I think, like you said before, people just avoid the conversation. It isn't comfortable at first, but I think the more we're kind of open and we kind of understand the options and come back, call us again. I think it's important to know us before you need us, is what one of my friends says about the network. I just want to know that we're there. Give us a call. Don't have to commit to anything, but at least it's better to be informed than to be in a panic situation. We get those calls sometimes at Friday at 4:00. My mom's coming home from the nursing home. I don't know what to do. It's really hard to do a good plan then.
Yep.
If you see this stuff happening, call before it becomes a crisis.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But I think that's just it. Sometimes we just don't get there. We don't recognize, like, hey, there's a possibility that this could go a certain way.
Right.
But like you said, knowing is half the battle.
Yeah.
How can they find you? How can they?
So I know on the screen is going to put our number, but definitely our website is www.mves.org is our website.
Okay.
That's probably the best way. We have a caregiver referral form on there, and you can go in, put information. We also have phone numbers on there. We are open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. And then if you don't live in this area, we also can refer you to the Aging Service Access Point for the town or city that you live in Massachusetts. And there's also a national number. If your loved ones out of state, we can connect you as well. We're really here to connect people to the services, so please call.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much
for
being here.
Me.
This has been amazing. This has been awesome. And again, I'm so grateful for you coming to see us today, because there's a need. We need you. We need a lot of things, but we do need you. So please reach out if you need Lisa and her services and her people and their help. They are here for you. They are absolutely wonderful. I can attest to that myself. Thank you for joining us. I'm Laura Williamson. This is Bear Fitness. It's so great to see you, and we will see you next time. Have a good one. Bye.